Hey everyone, since Halloween's coming up this week, we'll be talking about ghosts and the undead. And go.
And go. Yeah, so all the spooky shit. Happy Halloween, everybody, or early Halloween,
Early happy, merry
something like that. Yeah.
New Year, Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween's coming up this Thursday. Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thought we'd do an episode on spooky shit, whatever, um, ghost stories, supernatural shit, the undead, all that kind of crap. So
If we believe it or not, which we do.
oh, I definitely do. Man, I've seen some shit you would not believe. I mean, it's pretty fucking. I mean, I've seen some pretty crazy shit. Like, you hear things, like, you listen to people talk about stuff, and, you hear stories and whatnot, but until you really, like, experience something that's just unexplainable and super fucking creepy, it's hard to really believe, I guess.
Yeah, once your butthole puckers up, it
Yeah.
you don't understand what it's like. I mean, we've had those experiences where, I mean, we don't get scared very easily, but I've run out of a hospital before.
Yeah.
Panicking, calling him on the phone because I got the shit scared out of me.
Yeah. Literally.
By myself. I was there by myself, and it scared the living shit out of me. I mean, it was no joke.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's been a few times, uh, there's been a few times at the hospital, a few times outside of the hospital where I've seen some pretty, I mean, it was freak, I mean, it's freaky stuff, but it was, I guess for me, it was more like I'm a logical person. I'm one of those people that, there's a reason for everything, and there has to be a logical explanation for this and why it happened. So when shit happens to me that I just can't explain, or I have no reason for why it happened or what's going on, I get a little freaked out. So, there's been a few instances where it's just like I couldn't explain how that's even possible. Like, there's no logical reason why or how this could have happened.
Especially when, like I said, we were by ourselves. It was always when we're
Yes.
by ourselves. No one's
Yes.
ever there, and that's what makes it even worse.
Yeah.
It's like we can go, hey, did you just hear that, or ask someone, or
No.
it's by ourselves, and
You know what you heard or saw, and I mean, every
yeah,
every instance that I've had has been, I mean, it's very clear. This is what I saw. There was no mistake. It wasn't like, well, maybe I saw something else, or maybe, there's no. It was what I saw. I mean, it was very clear, very um there's
vivid,
yeah, it was
realistic.
very vivid, very realistic. There's no way it was something else that I, mistook it for.
Yeah.
So,
Well, especially when you go back like the next day and ask someone that you work with,
and they're like, "Oh yeah."
oh yeah, we see that all the time. It's cool. He's just here fucking around. It's like, no, it's not cool when I'm here by myself at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's not fucking cool because I want to get my work done. And I have every light on, the radio on, the door open.
Yeah. Because it's gonna protect you.
Yeah, because ghosts can't hurt you in the light. Apparently.
It's so funny to me. Like, people that are scared, or, of whatever, oh, I'm gonna hide under a blanket, cover myself up with the blanket. They can't get me now, or I'll turn all the lights on because they don't like light, or
but that's what you learned when you were a kid, so it's still gotta work.
Turn the TVs on. I think
it's more about comfort. Especially with the lights on, at least you can see. With the lights out, obviously that's a little more scary. But if you have the lights on, at least you can see if something is moving.
Yeah.
Or if it is, like not saying there's a rat, but if there's like a rat somewhere, it's like, moving a wire, like, okay, it's just a fucking rat making the noise. But
yeah,
at least with the light on, you can see what's going on.
I think also part of it is, a lot
psychological too.
Yeah, people, like, especially like with the TVs and turning music on and stuff like that. It's to keep your mind off of.
Just keep it occupied.
Of thinking about that kind of shit. I think that's part of it too. So
yeah, just the only scary shit is.
But it's still funny to me. Like,
you just
turn everything on in the house.
You just don't want the lights to turn off. That's when you really shit yourself.
Oh, that'd be some creepy shit though, man. You turn all the lights on, get the TV, radio, everything going, and then the power goes out.
Yeah, I'll definitely piss myself that time. Fuck that. No. No, but like I said, I work in a hospital now, and even then, I've, it's not as old as the hospital we used to work at, but it's still a hospital. People die in there all the time.
Oh yeah.
So there's always going to be something in there, and there's just one room that I always have that feeling like something's watching me, something's right next to me, and I always felt like I was going crazy. And then I asked this other guy the next day. I said, "Hey," I said, in that room, he goes, "Dude, I get an uneasy feeling in there." He goes, "I hate that room." I'm like, well, fuck. So and I have to go in there every single night at like midnight.
Yeah.
To check equipment. So every night I walk by, I'm like, it's okay. I'm like talking to myself. I'm like, just go in there, calm down. And as soon as I walk in, I just have that, like my whole body just tenses up, and I feel like someone's there who's ready to kill me. And I freaking hate it because across the hall is where they keep the bodies.
Oh, okay.
And this room has a lot of electrical, and you know what they say with electrical equipment, that all the electricity in the air helps spirits like manifest.
Well, because think about it though, they say that energy never dies; it's transferred, right? So when somebody dies, what happens to that energy?
It's got to go somewhere.
It's got to go somewhere, right? So it would only make sense that electrical things would intensify that or make it easier for occurrences like that to happen, I guess.
Yeah. So I was saying, yeah, because the ICU is right here, the room I'm in is right here, and then that's where they keep the bodies. I'm like, so I'm right in between the dead zone, and the OR is right next door to it. So it's like, yeah, it's where everyone's going and dying, and I'm sitting in this freaking room with tons of with big AC units and all these pumps and all this electrical. So yeah, it creeps the crap out of me, but
yeah,
I have to do it. So sometimes I'll put my my earbuds in and listen to the radio or my phone, just something to keep me occupied, but it still scares the shit out of me. I rush through that room pretty quick all the time.
Yeah, I probably would too. But I mean, it's crazy though, because I've seen a bunch of shit, but like firsthand, but none of it's ever been like
Malicious.
yeah, none of it's been aggressive or harmful or trying to be harmful or anything like that. It was almost like, hey motherfucker, I want you to know I'm here, and that was it.
Like keep it down, yeah.
It was never anything, like you said, malicious or whatever.
Well, that one time in the hospital when I called you that morning, I literally felt like I got a cold fist right in the back of my kidney.
Oh, really?
And that's when I freaked out, because I felt this like cold punch, and it, like my whole side of my body was ice cold. And then I turned and I saw like this flash, and I dropped everything I had in my hands, and I just fucking I stopped at the desk to get my cigarettes too, but I fucking ran out of there, and I called you and said, "Hey, get here now," because you were on your way anyway. But that literally scared the crap out of me. And we had worked there for years.
Yeah.
And I always saw that shadow running back and forth from Randy's office. Yeah. And then I asked Raul, he goes, "Oh yeah, I see that shadow all the time." I'm like, "Well, fuck," because I'm here by myself at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And now I know this is coming, and Randy's like, "Oh yeah, people complain about that, and my boss actually died in the office." I'm like, "Well,
yeah, that explains a lot."
Fuck me. I'm like, can I go back to working days?
Yeah, there were a lot of times. I saw a lot more. I saw a lot more before I came. The first time I worked there, before I came back, when you guys were there. The first time I worked there, on the weekends, the weekends that you worked, the skeleton crew wasn't 2 people. It used to be 1 person on the weekends. So you'd have to work by yourself the whole weekend. And I would regularly see, and I wasn't the only one. I mean, we all talked about it. But it was kind of weird because, when somebody new came to work there and they had to work the weekend and they'd come in, I remember them coming in after, first weekend or second weekend they've ever worked there, and they come in that next week and they're telling us about the shit that they saw, and we're all just kind of laughing at each other or we're kind of smiling at each other because we know we've all been there and experienced it.
And you don't want to tell them because then you're going to freak them out and scare them, and they're going to want to work.
Well, I mean, we still tell them because it's
after the fact. I would.
Yeah, afterwards, we're like, when they come to us and say, "Hey, man, I saw this shit this weekend. It's really creepy." Oh yeah, we see it. We've all been there. We've all seen it. Different shit. And so it's just kind of weird because everybody, the stories are all different, but but similar, because I mean the situation's always different, I guess, but what happens is usually pretty much more or less the same all the time. Like we see the same shit, and it's crazy because you know like if I see someone on the week, like if when I first started there, and the first time I saw something like that, and I came in, the next week, and I was telling everybody about it, and to see their reactions, and it was like,
That
okay,
scared them more.
so it really did happen. I wasn't imagining this. You've seen it too, and then to have them explain what they saw and the similarities between the two is like, okay,
It kind of fucks you up even
it's
more.
kind of cool, but it's kind of freaky too. Like, I mean,
You're like, maybe it's just me seeing shit, but now you're like, okay, I'm definitely not just seeing shit. If they're
yes.
seeing it too, then something's going on.
And you would see stuff every now and then during the week too when everybody was there, but it just wasn't as common. It was more common on the weekends when there weren't a lot of people there. And it could be just because maybe when everybody's there, you're not paying attention to things as much because, there's so many distractions. There's people
Oh
there to
yeah.
talk to, and everybody's making noise, and so you're not paying attention to all the little things that's going on around you. But every now and then you'll be walking past an aisle and you catch a glimpse of something out of the corner of your eyes, and when you turn, it's it's there, but then it's gone, like
Yeah.
type of thing,
Hmm.
And the crazy thing about this storeroom where we worked was that everything that there's shelf. I mean, it's a storeroom. It's for supplies in a hospital, so there's shelving all over this room or multiple rooms, whatever. So there's aisles all over the place. So you could be walking by this aisle, and at the end of the aisle, you see a shadow or a figure or something hazy standing there, but it's very clear as to what it is. Or at least for me, it was always very clear. It was definitely in the shape of a person or a being. It was never like just a. It was never just like a cloud or
No,
a.
and the walls, everything there was white.
Yeah, everything's
So it's
there.
not like you can mistaken, like a picture on the walls were bare and they were white. So you saw something there that we worked there for years. You know when something wasn't supposed to be there.
Yes.
You knew, okay, that something was just there that's not supposed to be there. Now it's not there. What the hell's going on?
Yeah. And there weren't,
Yeah.
it's not like it was a shadow of anything because there's lights all. There really aren't very many shadows there because there's lights everywhere. The ceiling, I mean, every aisle you walk down, there's lights shining down, so there's not really any room for shadows.
No, 'cause, yeah, all the lights were on the ceiling, so there's no way for the shadows to get cast up against the wall. It was just straight down on the
That's what
floor.
I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
there was nothing that could have done that.
it wasn't like that. And then so you would see stuff like that, uh but then on the weekends, and like I said, maybe stuff like this happened during the week, but you just didn't notice it as much because there's noise and there's stuff going on in there. Everybody's walking around and talking, and there's shit being moved around, so you don't pick up on the noises or the sounds. But on the weekends, man, you shit falling out of
Well, like I say,
nowhere.
especially that back room, the forms room, that was the room that I hated going. They're like, hey, they call, can we get it back of these forms? I'm like, we're out.
Well, yeah, so like
We'd have plenty of them. I'm like, nope, we're out. Sorry, I'm not going back there today. You can get them
so on the
tomorrow.
other side of that wall was the pack room where we had all these surgical
Oh yeah,
packs,
yeah, yeah.
and it was pallet racking in there because these boxes weren't like super heavy, but they what, like maybe 50 pounds, 40
Yeah, 40,
40
50
40
pounds
50
tops.
pounds,
Yeah.
something like that. And so they're these boxes, and they're sitting on this pallet racking. Well, the pallet rack, I mean, or the boxes that were sitting on it, they were, they're sitting back. They weren't like hanging over the edge or anything. Like they were fully supported, sitting
And they were
on
level.
these
They
shelves.
weren't hanging.
Everything's level. I mean, nothing
Hmm.
nothing crazy going on here,
Trust me,
right?
we checked.
And so, and I'll never forget because this was the most vivid. This was probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to me, like ever. I mean, out of all the experiences that I've had,
Hmm.
you know, it was on a weekend, and I can't remember if it was before or the first time I worked there, or the second time I worked there, but um, I got a call. I had to go in and get a surgical pack, and so I was walking down this hall, or I go into the room because it's its own separate room, and there's three hallways. There's the main hallway that leads back to a door, and then there's two side hallways. When I say hallways, I mean in between the pallet racking. So
Yeah.
I had to go onto the one of the side hallways, and I'm walking down, and I get about, I don't know, three quarters of the way down this hallway, And then all of a sudden, these boxes, these 40, 50-pound boxes of surgical packs just start falling to the ground behind me. And I didn't know that that's what was happening as I was hearing it until I turned around and saw that they were all on the fucking floor and was like, oh shit. Like, I've got goosebumps right now talking about it. This shit was fucking freaky. So
I would have been running.
I was like, fuck this shit. And the only way to get out of that room
was to go back that way.
Was to go back that way because that's where the door is. Like, I literally have goosebumps all over my arms right now. You can't see that, but it's fucking crazy. Like, I can still see it. I can still hear it. It was that vivid. So, and I mean, literally, they were just, I mean, just dumped onto the floor. I mean, there was 3 shelves. So we had the bottom
and these were heavy duty metal racks like they have in Home Depot.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, these weren't plastic or anything. They were freaking. I mean,
no, it's pallet racking.
Yeah, you couldn't bend this shit.
It's pallet racking. Yeah.
The cross beams
the supports are like this big.
Yeah, so there was no way these things were bending and falling down on their own.
No. So there's 3 shelves on there. There's the bottom is everything sitting on the floor, and then you have 2 shelves that are actually shelves. And both of those shelves on both sides were just everything was dumped. And when I turned around and saw what had happened, I was like, "Oh fuck." So instead of running back through there because the floor was just littered with big ass boxes, I went around. I kept going straight, went around where that door is, which is where all the real freaky shit happens. And I turned around and came back down the main hallway, hauled ass out of there, closed out of the building, closed the door,
which was its own separate building. It wasn't even connected to the hospital, really. Which was also scary.
It was part of the original. From what I understand, it was part of the original hospital. It was part of the
morgue.
It was part of the original hospital, and that was the original ER, which had the morgue attached to it.
Yeah, because there were squares on. There were literally, you could tell where they had patched these squares up.
Yeah.
And I asked the IT guy that had been there for like 20 years, and I said, "Where are these squares?" He goes, "That's where the bodies were." I said, "Wait a minute."
What bodies?
I said, "I thought this was the supply room." He goes, "No, this was the ER and the morgue before." I was like, "Well, fuck." I was like, "Okay, that makes sense." So yeah, so you're sitting there staring at these freaking squares on the wall. You knew there were bodies laying in.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It was pretty surreal. So I mean, I hightailed it out of there, and I don't think I went back in the rest of the day. I think I called Randy and told him what happened and was like, I'm not.
And he believed us too.
I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going back in there. And he's like, no, he's like, I know what you're talking. He's like, we've all seen the shit. We've all experienced it. And I was like, oh, that would have been good to know before I started working. And
right, yeah.
And at the time, the first time I worked there, when I first started there, I was 17. So, I mean, I was still pretty young, and I mean, that shit freaked me the fuck out. And I was like, I'm not going back, dude. And so I don't think I went back the rest of the day. I came back on Monday, and came back to work on Monday when everybody was there. And when I told everybody, they're just like, "Yeah."
I'd be like, "Okay, come."
Nothing like that had happened to any of them. And by the way, I left all that shit on the floor. And that Monday when our receiving guys came in, Gilbert and Raul and all them, when they came in, they're like, "Who left this fucking mess?" And I told them what happened, and they're like,
Raul would believe you because he saw the shadow too that I'm talking about.
Raul believed me. Gilbert didn't believe me, but Gilbert was.
He was a different person.
He was a different breed. But yeah, it was really creepy, and that's how, like, one of the reasons why everybody believed me was because the shit was still on the floor when those guys came in on Monday, and they know I would have never
made a mess like that. Yeah, we're not gonna do something.
Number
like that.
one, I never would have done something like that, and I sure as shit wouldn't have left it that way. But when I told them what happened, they're like, "Okay,
yeah,
we get it."
No, that's why when I went to Raul that one day, I said, "Hey," I said, I talked to him. I was like, "I don't know how much you believe in this," and he was high half the time. So I'm like, "Hey,"
yeah.
I was like, "I'm seeing this shadow." He goes, "Yeah, coming from Randy's door, running back and forth from the office to the door." I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "We need to go talk to Randy," and I'm like, "Dude, he's gonna fire us," thinking that we're fucking like on drugs. So we go into Randy's office, and we both sat down. We were like really nervous to tell him. We kind of just stalled, and he's like, "What?" And he was the fucking coolest guy.
Oh yeah, he
Randy,
was one of the best bosses.
you could get on his desk and take a shit in front of him. He'd be like, "Come on, guys, just get back to work. Come on." He was the coolest fucking boss in the world. But I went in the office with Raul and I'm like, okay. I said, Randy, I said, please don't think we're making this shit up or lying to you. I said, when I'm at the front desk, I see this, and before I could finish talking, he goes, you see the shadow, don't you? And I was like, motherfucker. I put my head down. He goes, don't worry. He goes, I don't think you're crazy. He goes, and Raul goes, what's going on? He goes, my boss before me or the one before him, I think had a heart attack in that office and died in the office.
Yeah.
He goes, I've seen it before. He goes, everyone that's worked here.
We've all seen it.
He goes, we've all seen it. And he's like, I'm like, it's not doing anything to me. But I said, it's still scary seeing something. I said, but when I turn around and look, it stops. But when I, out of my peripheral vision, I see this black thing shooting back and forth. And he goes, yeah, he goes, probably my old boss just kind of running around the place.
Checking on things.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't need someone else checking on my shit. I'm good.
Yeah.
That wasn't my concern. I just didn't want a fucking ghost running around. And then what floor was it on that, in the tower? The 5th floor that was shut down?
Yeah.
That was scary too.
Yeah.
Because they had all the lights turned off. Everything was off on that floor, and we had rooms that we used for storage.
Well, they had a bunch of equipment up there.
Yeah, but one day I went up there because it was like a closet or something, and they wanted me to go. We had those like back elevators, so I went up the back elevators, and I'm in this room, and I'm walking down to the other elevators because I couldn't fit the thing in there, and I hear, Chris. I dropped that shit and I ran down that hall. If there was a camera there, it looked like I was such a pussy, but I freaking ran. And I told Denise, I told all that, they're like, whatever. I said, then come up with me, please. I said, someone come up. I think it was Jackie went up with me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't give a shit if it is you. Just come with me. I was like, I'm not going up there by myself. But I swear I heard someone call my name, and there was no one up there. That floor was.
See, I've never
dead.
I've never heard anything like that, like a ghost or being or whatever. I've never heard them like make a noise, but I've heard noises caused by them, like, whether...
Well, that was the only time.
Whether it was something falling or something moving or something being knocked over, whatever. I've heard noises like that, but I've never heard them make a noise.
Yeah. Remember that one time we were working and we heard those voices? It was me and you were working. Let me tell the story. I don't know if you remember. You were probably half asleep.
I was probably half asleep.
Like you usually were.
Like I normally was.
So me and him were working. It was like 3 p.m. We were getting ready to go home, and we were talking about ghosts. We were talking about all the shit that happened to us that day. It was just funny, and we hear this talking, and we both just stopped and said, "Did you fucking hear that?" And we can still hear it, but we couldn't like understand what they were saying. So we're walking around the entire department looking for these voices. So we put our ear to a door, and we hear these 2 like female voices behind this door, and it's the weekend. No one's there, so we're like, "What the fuck is going on?" We're like, "What the fuck?" We're like, "Did you like?" If we had the phones we had nowadays, we would have recorded it.
Yeah.
But we had like little flip phones that were pieces of shit. So we're both standing there listening for like a good minute, and we're like, are we going to open this door and see there's something back there? So we opened the door thinking we're going to see some like spirit. It was 2 housekeepers speaking Spanish, and we scared the shit out of them, and they scared the shit out of us. But we were like, we thought you guys were ghosts, and they go, why would you say that?
I completely forgot about that. I remember now. Yeah.
But yeah, we thought we were like, it's real.
Yeah, we thought we were hearing
actually, shit. We finally caught them. Yeah. Like we were Ghostbusters.
And what are we going to do with them when we catch them?
Piss on them. That's all we're going to do.
Piss on ourselves.
Throw our shit at them.
But yeah, I mean...
that was funny though.
We've seen so much shit though. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Well, even at my old house. I mean, my son, he would, when he was like 3 and 4 years old, he would tell me that I'd hear him in his room playing, and I'm like, who's he talking to? My wife goes, he's a kid. He imagines things, and he's just talking to whatever. So one day we were looking through my sister's wedding album. And there was pictures of my grandpa in there. My grandpa passed away 2005. My son wasn't born until 2008. And my son, at 4 years old, goes, "That's the guy I play with in my room." And he points right to my grandfather. And my mom and my wife were like, "Wait a minute, you've never met this guy before?" He goes, "That's the guy I play with." And we're like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "He comes to my room and plays with me. That's who I talk to." So we were like, "Okay, no big deal. It's my grandpa." We didn't think anything of it. We were like, "That's fine." So I'm like, if it's my grandpa coming to play with his, great grandson, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And then it was a few days later, I was in my bathroom brushing my teeth, and my dad was supposed to come over, and we were supposed to go, I think, to Home Depot. So I'm brushing my teeth, and I hear Christian, loud and clear. I said, in a second, I'm brushing my teeth. So I brush my teeth, spit everything out, walk into my living room. No one's there. I'm like, he's probably on the porch having a cigarette. So I go on the porch. No one's there. So I call him and say, hey, where are you at? He goes, I'm still laying in bed. He goes, I haven't got up yet. I was like, well, someone just fucking said my name inside my house, and it sounded like you were like Grandpa. He goes, well, I'm not fucking there. So, but I'd say it sounded like someone in my family, so it didn't freak me out as much.
Yeah.
And then another time, my grandpa was always popping up everywhere. I had a Grand Marquis. You remember that big blue piece of shit?
Yep.
I was in my car driving one time. It was like a really bad storm, and I'm driving, and he loved Grand Marquis. That was his favorite car. And you know the scent that your grandparents had.
Yes.
Within an instant, I smelled him inside my car. I smelled his cologne, just him.
Yeah, you just caught
and,
like a
and
whiff
I
of
had
it.
this like comfort just come over me. So I'm like, Grandpa, if you're here, I'm like, I love you. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing here. I said, but I'm good. I'm almost home. Like, I don't know if he was trying to like just, I don't know what he was doing. But like, and then as soon as I said, I love you, and I'm like, I hope you're doing good, that smell just disappeared.
That's crazy.
It was the craziest thing. But it's like, he's always, just to know that he popped up in my house was crazy. And then one time, I don't think it was him unless he was fucking with me. I had a box of Capri Suns on the back of my fridge. They flew from the back of my fridge onto my floor in the living room.
Not
I don't care if you believe in ghosts or not, but I don't know how the fuck that would have happened.
So,
because that box was all the way stuck in the back, and the fridge doors come up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it would have hit those things came off the fridge and hit the ground, and they were all the way in the back against the wall. So
we had.
You can figure out why that happened. Let me know.
So the house that I grew up in from like first grade through, pretty much high school, whatever.
Over off of Clay.
Yeah. So supposedly, and I don't know because I've never gotten a full story from anybody, and I've never really looked it up or anything. But supposedly there was one of the guys that lived there before we bought the house, he had died. I don't know if he killed himself. I don't know if it was a heart attack. I don't know anything about the story, but supposedly he died. And from what everybody told me, this was like after we had already moved in and been there for like a year or two. Talking to my friends and stuff, they're the ones that said that they're the ones that were telling me that somebody died in their house and that it was supposedly haunted or whatever. And I was like, well, I've never heard or seen anything.
Yeah.
But there was a time, so this, and months and months later after I had found out about this, I was in the bathroom and I was taking a shit, sitting on the toilet.
So the ghost is a pervert, is what you're telling me.
Ghost is a fucking pervert.
Watching you shit.
But I'm sitting there, right? And I'm sitting here, and the counter where the sink is right next to the toilet right here, and then the bathtub is right next to me over here. And there's a wall right in front of me. The bathroom's not very big. I mean, the wall, when you're sitting on the toilet, the wall in front of you is probably like right here. So there was a roll of toilet paper sitting on the counter where the sink is, all the way up against the mirror over here, right? So I'm sitting there, and I'm getting ready to reach over. My hand is like right here.
And it went...
No, that toilet paper flew off of this counter, hit the wall, and fell to the floor.
If you didn't shit yet, you would have shit then.
I pulled my pants, and I was home alone. So, my mom was still at work, and I got home before my sisters because they were, I think, still in elementary, and I was in like junior high or whatever it was. And so I got home before they did. I was home by myself. Nobody else was there. I literally pulled my pants up, hauled ass out of my house, and there were no cell phones at the time.
So you didn't wipe?
There were no cell phones. Fuck no, dude. I fucking pulled them up and jetted. I wasn't staying there. So I went outside. There were no cell phones at the time. We didn't have cell phones. So I sat outside my house till my sisters got home. I made them go inside before me because I'm that asshole.
You go ahead, ladies.
So I made them go in first, and then I went in behind them. And as soon as we got in, I called my mom. Hey, where you at? You need to get home. Like I saw some crazy shit. Well, after that instance, you know, me and my sisters both started hearing shit in the house, like some crazy shit in the house. And
Hmm.
come to find out later, you know, my mom and my dad, oh yeah, we knew about all that. And we're like, what the fuck,
They probably
man?
didn't want to scare you.
No, I mean, we're kids. They're not going to scare the shit out of us, you know. But that was that was the first that was the first instance that I've ever come across where I've experienced something like that. Like after that, it was like shit started happening more frequently, you know. But
He wanted that Cleveland steamer. He wanted
he
you to,
wanted
that ghost wanted you to take a shit on his
it.
chest, and you didn't give it to him. You
Well,
pissed him off.
he can come back now. I'll give it to him all he wants.
Yeah, stopped or some Taco Bell
Give you all you want, motherfucker.
for torturing you all those years.
Yeah. But no, it's crazy,
Fuck
man. I
that.
mean, I've had some pretty wild experiences, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely a believer. I don't know what any of it means. I don't know if there's any logical explanation for it, but I haven't found one yet.
Like I said, look
So,
at some of these people. We don't have much time. We have like a minute, but look at some of these people's stories that even go into like surgery, and they die during surgery, and they come out of it, and they're like, I saw myself on the table. I could tell you what each doctor said,
yeah.
but they were dead. They're clinically dead, so that you're not hearing shit, you're not
Yeah.
remembering shit, you're brain dead. But they could tell you what the doctor was wearing, who ran in the room at what time. It's like they can tell you second by second of what happened and when they brought you back.
Yeah.
It's like, so how is that? I mean, and even the doctors are there, like, yeah, I did this. Someone else, another doctor ran in the room, and I don't know how they're able to tell me
Because they
because
were dead.
they were dead. So how did they know this happened?
It's
There's too
crazy.
much shit out there to not believe it. I mean, it's just, I
Yeah.
don't know. I
I
mean,
mean,
if you believe in an afterlife, then you believe in spirits and ghosts. I mean, sometimes they just get stuck here and they can't.